We are leaving Star Island, Isles of Shoal, and we have about a 9 to 9.5 hour passage, roughly around 46 nautical miles, to Peaks Island, which is near Portland, Maine. And right now we're going to be dropping the mooring and headed out. Okay, we are saying goodbye to Star Island. The oceanic house that you see up there is no longer a hotel. It is now run by the Star Island Corporation, which is part of the United Church of Christ or Unitarian Church, and they use it for retreat and conference center. You can go and visit the island. They do have gift shops and other things in the building there for you to go and visit. The one thing that I did back in August, end of August, first part of September for a couple weeks was volunteer working there. And I worked in the laundromat. And I worked there with my friend Jonathan, who I met at the island. So, and he has a Pacific Seacraft. So, hopefully, maybe I'll come back this fall on my way down to North Carolina and see if I can pick up a week or so there and work. Because I really kind of enjoyed that. All right, off we go. We are still motor sailing, not quite enough wind. I do have the mainsail up still, just in case we get the wind that we need. All right, we are entering into the outer part of Portland Harbor around Cape Elizabeth, and this is the Portland Headlight on Cape Elizabeth, and it is primarily the first, or the oldest, I guess, lighthouse in Maine. It was completed in 1791, and I think it is my understanding that it was George Washington who appointed the first lighthouse keeper. So, and it also is one of, and I'm sorry that it's not a beautiful day to show you how beautiful it is, but it is probably one of the most painted and probably most photographed lighthouse. We are now making a turn towards Peaks Island. You'll see Peaks Island at the very top of the video, and the island towards the port is Fort Scammell. It was named after Alexander Scammell. He was in the Revolutionary War, and the fort was built in 1808, and it was one of three forts to protect Portland Harbor during the War of 1712, or 1812, excuse me. And they continued to use the fort until into the 1870s. We have arrived at Peaks Island. I am running this at high speed not to bore you as I look around for the right depth of water to drop my anchor and also be away from the moorings and not out in the channel. I have found the spot to where I want to deploy the anchor, and as you can see, we are dropping the anchor down in front of the boat. And also, if you continue to watch, you will see that as I'm watching and let out enough of the chain, you'll see the boat will come back around and point towards the wind or the current as the anchor has grabbed. I am no way an expert at anchoring, but I just wanted to let you know that. And also, I do what is best for my boat. And I'm glad to show you what I do. And it's not 100% foolproof either. It all depends. Weather, conditions, waves, depth of water, whether there's going to be storms. So most of the time I anchor, try to find a protected area to anchor if there's a storm coming. The other thing is it depends on what the scope I'm going to let out of chain. So scope is either 4 to 7. It's 7 to 1 foot of depth, 7 feet to 1 foot. That depends on whether there's going to be a storm. Depends on whether it's an okay anchorage, there's a good hold. As I have explained, I think before in previous episodes, that more chain on the ground, on the floor of the wherever you're anchored, is a preventative for keeping you from dragging your anchor. Also, I want to add, sometimes I've gone out as much as 10 to 1 on my scope. It just depends, like I said, if whether the storm or where you're at and how much room you have to swing out. That's important as well. So right here I am applying my chain bridle. It has caused me problems as far as not the bridle's great. It's a matter of this bail U-shape that I attach to my bow roller. It is a U-shape upside down that's mounted to the bow roller over the anchor shank. It basically is kind of either keeps your anchor from popping off the roller while it is up in that position, or it kind of guides the shank through the roller. But it has been causing me problems ever since I've had it mounted. I thought it was going to be a benefit, but it's not. It's more of a hindrance. I have a mantis storing I don't know what they call it, storing application. It's a mount, that storing mounter. It's mounted underneath my roller, and it holds my anchor there when it's up in the roller position. So there's really no chance of it jumping out. I still tie it down once it's on the boat. So after this episode of messing with this, trying to find the best way to attach the chain bridle, it's a pain in the butt. And so I've decided to, since this video, I have removed that U-shape piece, and I have found it's so much easier to apply the chain bridle to inside the boat instead of hanging over the boat. And that's a good thing too, because it's a safety issue. And so It just makes it easier for those long legs that are on the bridle to go around and go through the hawse and then be mounted on the cleats, tied onto the cleats. And that's what actually holds that, or not holds, but prevents pressure back to the windlass. So that those lines, those legs of that bridle are what are accepting the pulling of the chain with the boat is gone to those points. There's no longer pressure on the windlass, which is not good for your windlass. You should not be, the chain should not be pulling on your gears in your windlass. So you put this bridle on, or some kind of line that will disperse the weight and pressure and not be on your windlass. Once I am done with making sure that there's enough chain out there for the bridle to now have the pressure on both legs, then I go back and I put the boat in reverse and probably bring it up slowly to 1500 RPMs and make sure that we are secured. The anchor is holding. And once I've done that, then we're pretty well done. And this, I will say that this is probably the longest it's ever taken me to put down an anchor. And the other thing, that because I can stay up there at the bow of the boat, and when you're a single hander, I have a remote, and you'll see that around my neck. That is a remote that will run my windlass from any position that I am on the boat. And it is the greatest thing I ever put on my boat. Now you will see me add an extra line that I add to the chain in front of the windlass, between the bow roller and the windlass. I do this just for an extra protection for if anything was to happen to the bridle, or it kind of holds it and there's no more chain coming out the windlass. It'll hold it because I go back to a cleat. So I kind of do, well, it's kind of like a rolling hitch, but anyways, it goes around my anchor chain, and then I bring it back and then I tie it off at the cleat. That relieves even another pressure on the chain and the windlass. And the other thing is that I do the exact same thing when the anchor is back in position on the boat. I do the exact same thing to the chain so it doesn't accidentally, if it was to fall off, there's no pulling or accidentally deploy the anchor. Okay, I'm in Portland. Well, actually, I'm anchored in front of Peaks Island. So I can make this quick because I'm running out of SD card room and the battery. So, but anyways, they're out here circling around the fort. with sailboats, and some of them have spinnakers up and stuff. So how cool is that? Some of them have already made a couple trips around the island, the fort, which is that way. Island right there. And this is in Portland, and I'm at Peaks Island, anchored. And some have their spinnaker up. Woohoo! I got to get mine set up so I can use mine as well. I need to see it fly. Oop, that one's flying theirs with the head sail up as well. Thank you for watching Blue Dancer and I hope you enjoyed the video. I did find out that this race here was possibly the Wednesday night beer race that usually most yacht clubs usually put on. And again, thank you, and we love you. And this is my scenery around here. I am anchored in the same spot I was back in August, I guess it was. So this right here is Peaks Island. And there's a ferry that comes from Portland, and I'll probably take it tomorrow to go into Portland. It's only $7 round trip for us old people. Older young people.